What Claire says is very telling, because you ask her what are the time limits and she just won't answer the question.
No, she did answer the question.
No, she didn't, because this phrase... No, I'm sorry, Claire, I didn't interrupt you. The phrase
but she did answer the question.
No, Claire, Vincent, I mean, we hear this phrase as early as possible and as late as is necessary. That actually isn't a time limit. And there's a real incoherence. Could you stop interrupting, Claire, please? There's a real incoherence from the pro-choice lobby in Ireland, because some of them will say 16 weeks is acceptable, some say 20, some say 22, but none of them will be able to say why an unborn human being has less rights at a certain stage. And really what we're talking about there is a third party. In this case, Claire has just talked about how she would be happy to see other people making a value judgment on the life of an unborn child. In other words, saying that that unborn child should be allowed to have his or her life ended, because that's what we're talking about. I mean, when we talk about carrying a pregnancy to term, what is that pregnancy? It's an unborn human life. And I think that, you know, if we're going to start this debate, we are at the beginning of what you say is going to come up more in the months ahead. We're going to have to talk about the atmosphere that we want to have this debate in. And I think it's got to be a very full debate, a very comprehensive debate that looks at all sides and doesn't allow us to use slogans like that, which really ignore the reality. Because Claire talks about the reality of abortion, but I've never heard people from the pro-choice lobby talk about what happens in other countries.
Okay, but are you in favour of continuing a situation where a woman is criminalised if she decides not to allow her body to be used for the sustenance of another human being? Let's just accept that. That's so, for the sustenance of another human being, irrespective of the trauma and the damage it might do to her.
You see, this is the story that's put about. The pro-life people are very discompassionate and they have no feeling towards a woman in a difficult situation.
I don't mind about what's put about. Just answer the question.
But that's not what we're talking about here.
But it is. It is. My question, I ask you again. Are you happy to persist with the situation where a woman who chooses to end a pregnancy that is hugely traumatic for her and problematic for her, and chooses to end that pregnancy and thereby committing a criminal act? Is that fair?
You see, I think, as you know, Vincent, abortion has always formed part of the criminal law. That's just the reality. Women themselves are never, they're never criminalised in the sense that prosecutions don't happen against the woman. That's the reality of it. And this is something that has been spread about by the Amnesty campaign. By the Amnesty campaign that talks about she is not a criminal. But Vincent, can I just make one thing clear?
Would you just mind answering the question?
But what is your question? Is that
I ask it for the third time. Do you want me to ask it for the third time? Are you happy that we should persist with the situation where a woman is criminalised if she decides that she cannot continue to have her body used for the propagation of a other human being? Let's agree on that. It's that, even though it causes terrible problems for her psychologically and physiologically.
But Vincent, abortion causes trauma psychologically and physiologically. That's the reality of it.
Why don't you answer my question?
But you're asking...
Are you happy to persist with the present situation?
Am I happy to persist with criminal law being involved with abortion as it is in every other country in the world? Yes, I am. Let me tell you, as the Amnesty campaign, She Is Not a Criminal, will not tell you that the penalty for abortion, for an illegal abortion in the UK, is life imprisonment. And yet Amnesty International is not targeting the UK in the same way that they are targeting Ireland. Now, I find that very strange, and I think it's something that your viewers would be interested to know about. Criminalisation is something which remains on the statute books. You know, Vincent, and I know, no woman has ever been prosecuted in Ireland for having an abortion.
But that's the law as it is.
And I do not support a woman being prosecuted, but we have to...
So you're in favour of removing the criminal sanction? No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that we have to ensure that people who abuse women, who promote abortion, who administer abortion, or who carry out abortions, that is for the law is for, and I think that